Look, Donald Trump's a sissy. And he's a bully. And with bullies, when somebody, pops them in the mouth, figuratively, not literally, bullies tend to back down, which is exactly what he did. I mean, she took his lunch money during the debate. There's no question about it.
Hello and welcome to the Bulwark Podcast. I'm your host, Tim Miller. I'm just delighted to be here today with the former mayor of New Orleans. He's a national co-chair of the Harris Walls campaign. He was the infrastructure czar during the Biden administration. I got a couple questions about that. And last week he was in North Carolina with Bill Clinton on a rural bus tour. And he's been all around the country campaigning for Kamala Harris. What's going on? It's Mitch Landrieu.
Oh, no. Hey, Tim, how you doing? No, listen, when I saw you, I think we saw each other in New Orleans. And right after that, I headed to Wisconsin, North Carolina with President Clinton. We had 4 stops. I jumped up to Pennsylvania, and then I went to Wisconsin, got home late last night, and starting over again.
Well, that's great. I want to hear a little bit more from you on what's happening, what you've been seeing on the road. But first, we had, the Queen Never Trumper, Liz Cheney, making the rounds yesterday. She was at an event with my colleague, Sarah Longwell, yesterday morning in Pennsylvania. I want to play you one clip for that and talk about it on the other side.
And I don't always feel like we're talking about the stakes enough. And Liz Cheney would not be here if she didn't think that the stakes were very high. And frankly, the Republicans wouldn't be so angry at you if they didn't think you were an effective surrogate as somebody speaking about the stakes.
Some Republicans.
Some Republicans. Hashtag not all Republicans.
I've seen a lot of Republicans, I've seen it, and I know it happens, who thank her constantly.
I know it. I know it.
They're going to vote the right way on November 5th. They might not be public about it, but they'll do what they know is right.
All right, 2 questions for you, Mitch. First thing is that, obviously the campaign is focused a lot on this demo. Like, what is your sense for how many more votes are left out there? How much juice is left in the squeeze on reaching out to Republicans that don't like Trump? Well,
I think that the fact that Sarah's doing a great job, by the way, and she's been working really hard. So I'm thankful to her and to all the other folks that have been pushing as hard as they have. And of course, to Liz Cheney, sometimes it gets lost that Liz Cheney's not out there by herself. Just the other day, 100 Republicans, very prominent Republicans, stood behind Kamala Harris and said, listen, we may disagree about a lot of things. The way the economy works and things of that nature. But we're all unified in the very simple idea that democracy can be fragile if you don't pay attention to it. And of course, if you don't have the right people in the right place, our national interest, our national security, our domestic security can be challenged. And I think it's really powerful that Liz Cheney and Dick Cheney and other folks like Mark Esper, for example, and General Kelly, and you just go down the list of people that have witnessed Donald Trump firsthand make decisions about our national security. They're going to put our nation at risk. It's going to create a more isolated America. It's going to make us weaker. It's going to make us less economically strong, have stood up and have spoken to the issue because they think, and I completely agree with them, if democracy is not protected, the rest of it is really not much of a discussion. So I think there are many Americans out there who self-identify as Republicans or independents or Democrats that share that very thought and are willing to put aside some of what are more minor differences than the salvation of democracy. And so if you look at where the possibilities are, I think that we're looking at where Nikki Haley's vote was when she got out of the race. She clocked in about 20% of the vote in a number of swing states. And that is very fertile ground that indicates that there are people there who are willing to put aside their hardcore, what Donald Trump wants to be hardcore partisan MAGA thoughts. And I think that, honestly, if you're given some serious thought to this and you were a Reagan Republican or a Bush 1 or Bush 2 Republican, if you were a Jack Kemp Republican, what Liz Cheney is talking about today resonates really loudly. Now, Tim, I'm from Louisiana. I'm from a red state. I served as lieutenant governor 2 terms here. My sister Mary was a United States senator. We are used to crossing the aisle and working with people. And there are a lot of people of good conscience that understand that it's democracy first. Everything else comes after that because they know how serious it is.
Yeah, I agree with you on all that, and I think that the campaign's been doing a great job, and it speaks to the campaign's commitment to getting as many of those voters as possible. That there were 3 events with Liz Cheney yesterday, and good on Liz. I guess just what she said at the end of that answer, though, where she was like, there are a lot of people that are going to do the right thing in private. I guess my question is it the right thing to do it in private? Shouldn't there have been more people with Liz Cheney yesterday? Like, where's Chris Christie? Mitt Romney. You mentioned Esper and Kelly, but they haven't done ads for you guys or done campaign events for you guys. Like, what's the holdup there, do you think?
Well, I think one of the things we're going to have to ask ourselves after this election, win, lose, or draw, and I think we're going to win, is why so many of our fellow Americans are susceptible to Donald Trump, who obviously not only does not tell the truth, but generally is making wrong decisions about how to make America strong, safe, and secure. It's not only that he doesn't tell the truth about anything, it's that his views of how to make America strong are wrong. When you just bend a knee to Vladimir Putin, or when you and consequently willing to give Ukraine away, thereby threatening NATO and then the safety and the security of pretty much the world, when you really kind of are playing footsie with other dictators and you think that being an authoritarian is the American way, you're just dead wrong about that. And so all of us have to stand up and speak. Now, I say this just observationally, that the Republicans in Congress had a chance to do the right thing twice, and they chose not to do it. Donald Trump has effectively, through mechanisms, shut down all the legal challenges. There is only one way to stop Donald Trump from going to the Oval Office, and that power is maybe, where it should be, with the American people. And so I think this is a time that requires really sober-minded thought here, because we're about to make a decision that's going to impact the future of the United States of America for 50 years and maybe even the world. And I think it should be pretty clear to people that Donald Trump is going to take us in the wrong direction. And Kamala Harris is really trying to take us, in a different direction. Just think about all the pain and agony that we have gone through since this man has been in office, waking up every day thinking, what the hell did he say today? Listen, he did it the other day with Arnold Palmer. Every day you wake up, you get exhausted with all of this ridiculousness. And it takes away from, putting food in people's mouths, giving people jobs, helping people have the kind of economic security they need, and the national security we need to protect ourselves. And I'm just really thankful to the folks that have stood up. And I hope that however people decide to do it, because there is a tremendous amount of peer pressure that Donald Trump brings through fear, which people should think about. Because if he does it now, what is he going to do when he's president? Why would you put a bat in the hand of a guy that's going to hit you with it? That is kind of a basic thought that we can just capsulize the entire campaign into that just very one thoughtful question.
Can we put Mary to work? Any of those ex-senators? Can we get Pat Toomey on board or Chris Christie? Like, you did the bipartisan stuff. You said it. It is weird, right? Like, it is weird that why are they so afraid? What are they afraid of? I don't know, man. I was on the campaign trail with Sarah Matthews the other day. She was a 25-year-old deputy press secretary in there. And she's now out there campaigning. She has reason to be afraid. She didn't have money for security. She had her whole career in front of her. What's with them? What
Tim, first of all, I'm not afraid, and you're not afraid, and so thank you for your courage. But it reminds me, I just came back from after the storm. I jumped into North Carolina to help after the storm, and I noticed there what I noticed after Katrina hit, that like when the world was looking like it was going to hell, when people had lost their homes, lost their lives, the miraculous thing, and it happens all the time without fail, is that there are these people who nobody has ever seen in normal life. Somebody who was a healer, somebody who was a parish priest, somebody that might have been a paralegal in a big law firm, that all of a sudden just kind of rises up and becomes this incredible leader with incredible courage that starts to feed people and put their lives back together. And that's the thing that gives you the most hope. And that's why I'm so hopeful about this election, because there have been regular American citizens that nobody would expect to step up to say, listen, it's clear to me what the right thing to do is. I don't know why you big people are all confused. Yeah. But if you think about, and this is what kind of confuses me about some of my fellow Americans. As a normal, I have my wife and I have 5 kids. I coach my kids' teams, and every year when baseball season or basketball season or football season or soccer roll around, all the dads and the moms get together, right? And we start picking teams, who's going to be on the team and who's not going to be on the team and who the other coaches are going to be and how we're going to, organize our lives around whether we think our kids are going to be professional athletes or not. And if Donald Trump was in that room, or Donald Trump wanted to be the coach of one of our kids' teams, and we knew about him what we know now, we wouldn't let him on the playground.
Of course. You
would not hire Donald Trump to be the CEO of any company in America because he wouldn't pass it. So why in the world do people think that he is going to be good for the country? And then finally, I would say just about the choices he's made in his personal life, in his professional life, in his business life, and of course in government have demonstrated that he doesn't really make good choices, and bad choices equal bad consequences. And we've had many of them, and people should expect a lot more of the same. So he's just going to be a lot better at being really bad. And I think Kamala Harris has demonstrated that instead of being isolated and insular and excluding people, she wants to have a big tent and bring everybody in and give the folks of America a better chance at a better future. And I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think that's going to resonate with more Americans on Election Day, which is why I feel good about where we are.
You mentioned the hurricane and how you're visiting North Carolina. I just want to play a couple of short clips that are representative of how Trump and Vance have been talking about the hurricane. Let's listen to that.
They spent their money on illegal migrants. They spent their money. They didn't have any money left for North Carolina. That's not the way it's supposed to work. Or other places, by the way. Plenty of other places.
What do we need to do to restructure FEMA? I actually think this one is pretty straightforward. You've just got to fire the present leadership and tell FEMA to focus on American citizens and not the illegal migrants.
That's just stupid. That's just stupid. I don't know how else to say that except for this. When Katrina hit, it was a reasonable observation that the country was not yet, because we didn't have a mega storm like that, as well prepared as we should have been. And if you look back on the responses of any catastrophic event, to 9/11, to Katrina, to Rita, to Ike, to Gustav, to the national recession, to the BP oil spill, we've been through many of these. It is true that way back then, the country had to get better at emergency response. And since 2005, every state in the nation, every governor has created a governor's office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness. FEMA, through the reform of the Stafford Act, has gotten much better and much faster. And throughout the Biden administration, I can tell you from personal experience, because I was actually there, that anytime a catastrophic event happened, the destruction of I-95, the same thing that happened in Los Angeles when the I-10 collapsed, when the bridge collapsed in Pittsburgh, President Biden and his team were on the phone like 2 minutes after it happened. And they said, get down there on the ground and give them everything that they need. The bridge collapsed in Baltimore. And this administration has been on it like a dog on a bone. And FEMA and Deanna and them have done an incredible job. They prepared for that storm. They pre-deployed, and they actually got out there. So what Donald Trump said and J.D. Vance said is just factually not correct. Secondly, as a matter of leadership, this is really important. What kind of leader do you want? When you're in peril, when you're at war, when you're having a catastrophic event, do you want people in leadership who are scaring the hell out of folks who have lost everything, who are in their most vulnerable state, or do you want them to try to lift them up? It's about whether you like working together or bringing it apart. Donald Trump has made a decision. It's really easy to understand that if he divides people, if he causes hate, if he causes fear, if he causes anger, that will help him have power. When he gets power, he will help his friends. Who's he going to help? You already know. He's going to help the top 1%, and he's going to tell everybody else to go to hell. That's essentially what his life has all been about. And if you fight with Donald Trump, he will punish you. So in effect, if you disagree with him, let's say it's Gavin Newsom in California about something, instead of having a fair fight like we do on the fields of democracy, what he says is, I'm going to punish your citizens. How is he going to do that? He's going to do that by withholding funds for firefighters. Now, what does it mean when you withhold funds from firefighters? You know what happens? People get burned. They actually die. Their houses get burned down because Donald Trump disagrees with somebody about a philosophy. He does this with immigration. Now, let's juxtapose that to Kamala Harris, who says, listen, I'm going to fight with you on the field of democracy. We're going to fight in Congress. We're going to fight in the state houses. We're going to try to get to a resolution. But when we're in peril, when we are fighting overseas, we are one team, one fight. And I am going to be the president for everybody, hence which is why she's going to Texas today. And I'm going to make sure that whatever it is that I do, even if you did not vote for me, I'm going to make sure that every American is going to get the benefit of what the American people want to do. Now, that is two very distinct ways to govern America. I come from, let's be more inclusive. Let's reach out. I think we're better together, even if we fight. Look, I got a big family. Over Thanksgiving, we don't all agree on everything, but you know what? We eat together. You know, we go to church together, and then we fight again, and then we come back together because there is a higher cause and a higher purpose. And Donald Trump doesn't understand that because he lives in the mud and he thrives in the mud. Just don't let him drag you there.
I thought she was going to Texas because we needed an excuse to have a Beyonce event. Is that not right?
Well, that's fine too. I like Queen Bee. I'll tell you what.
Y'all, I was cruising through the comments the other day on YouTube, and one jumped out at me. Somebody was asking if I was doing anything different with my skin. They're saying that my skin was looking nice and moisturized and refreshed. And for starters, I love compliments in the comments, so feel free to keep those coming. And number two, I just wanted to say to the person, obviously, you haven't been listening to the ads because the difference is OneSkin. OneSkin's proprietary OS1 peptide is the first ingredient proven to switch off the damaged senescent cells that cause lines, wrinkles, and thin, crepey skin. Free from over 1,500 chemicals and preservatives that can make skin red, irritated, or itchy, their products are certified safe for sensitive skin, dermatologist tested, and approved by independent testing platforms like SkinSafe. OneSkin's multi-purpose products prove you don't need a complicated routine to achieve healthier skin. OneSkin is the world's first skin longevity company. By focusing on the cellular aspects of aging, OneSkin keeps your skin looking and acting younger for longer. For a limited time, you can try OneSkin with 15% off using code BULWARK at oneskin.co. That's 15% off oneskin.co with code BULWARK. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support your show and tell them we sent you. Give your skin the scientifically proven gentle care it deserves with OneSkin. Hey, y'all, if you love this podcast and want to listen to all Bulwark podcasts ad-free, join Bulwark Plus today. You can click the link in this description. You'll get the best politics newsletters in the business, and you can become a Bulwark Plus member right now. We'd appreciate it. I want to ask you about part of the reason he gets away with this stuff. Part of the way, let me put it this way. There was one day during this campaign where Trump didn't get away with this BS. Talking about how migrants are getting the FEMA money and all his other lies and nonsense. And it was when he went toe-to-toe with her in that debate. And since then, he's run from 60 Minutes. He's run from that debate. I mean, can you guys be taunting him a little bit more on this? I mean, shouldn't he be like made into just be the turned into the scared little boy that he is, that he won't debate her again? Look,
Donald Trump's a sissy. He's a bully. And you know, with bullies, when somebody, pops him in the mouth, figuratively, not literally, bullies tend to back down, which is exactly what he did. I mean, she took his lunch money during the debate. There's no question about it. And as a consequence of that, he's kind of run all over the place, not doing too many events. When he does events, he kind of says crazy stuff like the other day. I mean, you think about that, if Joe Biden stood on a stage for 40 minutes swaying to music, Donald Trump would have said, put a straitjacket on the guy. Yeah. Right? If Joe Biden would have said, that I'm really thinking about Arnold Palmer's junk, people would have gone like, wait, what are you talking about? So there are a lot of folks that have given Donald Trump a pass because they think it's a joke, but he actually thinks that way. And the problem is he governs that way. And when you govern that way, you hurt American citizens. Donald Trump is going to be really bad for this country. And, the McDonald's thing the other day, which I thought was cute, is really the best illustration of what Donald Trump is. Donald Trump made a joke of going to work at McDonald's and playing like he worked at McDonald's, just like it's a joke that he wants to be president and playing at it when Kamala Harris really did work there. I mean, it really is a good, symbol of what this race is all about. While he goes to McDonald's, then he starts talking about how good the people are, but he's not for increasing their wages. He's not for giving them better health benefits. He's not for lifting up those folks. Kamala Harris, again, wants to grow the economy from the bottom up. and make sure that people have lots of jobs. And there's lots of good examples of how her theory of governing works really, really well. We have a lot of work to do because people are feeling, out of sorts right now. And I think that she's been concentrating on ways to make people's lives easier by lowering their cost. And there's a whole list of things that people can take a look at. But just her demeanor, the way she's handled herself, I think most people that have watched her over the past few months, even if you don't like her, you have to concede that she has handled herself remarkably well. And from my perspective, is going to be a spectacular president for all of us.
All right. The vice president has Eminem campaigning for her with Obama in Detroit today. We love that. They're out campaigning until they collapse. You mentioned earlier you're a Little League coach. You obviously had to get a lot of votes from the Black community to become mayor of New Orleans. There's concern in Democratic world that the Democratic message isn't resonating, particularly with younger Black men. And by younger, I mean kind of like Black men under 50, right? Not middle-aged Black men and younger Black men, and that there's been some erosion with the vote there in that group. Do you think that's true? Is there something else the campaign can be doing, to reach those voters? Like what's your impression?
Well, I have a lot of impressions about this, so let me
just roll, baby. Just cook
comments about it and make sure that my comments are taken in context. First of all, 80% of anything is a hell of a lot. If Donald Trump had 80% of anything, the story would be, look how much Donald Trump has, not, oh my God, look how much he's losing. And so I think that sometimes Democrats get a little anxious and nervous about that. I don't believe at the end of the day that Donald Trump's going to get that many votes from young African-American men. I believe that when all is said and done, and we do our work of really trying to earn their vote, which we all have to do, I believe they're going to understand that Donald Trump is not good and never has been. And there are myriads of examples that range from the criminal justice to economic growth and development, just the way that he handles himself. And so I'm not as worried about that as other people are. What I do notice, though, is that a lot of white guys, are for Donald Trump no matter what, and nobody pays a lot of attention to that. Hence, I'm pumped up that Eminem is gone. And yesterday I was in Wisconsin. I was at the Microsoft plant that is being built. There was 1,600 folks that were working there primarily because of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden's legislation that we passed relating to chips and the Infrastructure Act and putting all of these people to work. And I think that that's going to make a big difference. But I do think if you look at just the polling numbers, that we have a much worse problem with white men, and especially non-college educated white men, that we have to continue to talk to so that they understand and know that we're fighting for them as well, because the Democratic Party is a Big Ten party. And so I'm very, as I always have been as a state representative and a lieutenant governor and the mayor of New Orleans, about the needs of African-American men of America who, in my opinion, have been left behind. And there are there's a lot of need there that has been unmet, but we need to keep speaking to it. And we have done that much, much more forthrightly and better than the Republican Party ever has. And I believe that they know that, and I believe that they will be there at the end of the day.
You got a favorite Eminem song?
No.
I had to ask that for your kids. I need to give them some material to embarrass you with next time I see them at the Kingpin. All right. We got to do a little Louisiana business before I let you go. You, as we mentioned, you are the infrastructure czar. We have Cedric Richmond that was in the Biden administration. I know you're not the mayor anymore, but you always get mayor questions. When are we getting these pumps fixed? When are we getting these pumps and potholes fixed, Mr. Mayor? We had you in there doing infrastructure czar. We got to get the cash down here.
First of all, when I became mayor, the entire city had not only suffered from Katrina, Rita, Ike, Gustav. The BP oil spill happened 3 weeks before we got there. And so the city was about to fall into the Gulf, literally. It was almost bankrupt. And we rebuilt the city. And it took a lot of money to do that. Hundreds of billions of dollars have come into the city of New Orleans. The sewage and water system is really the biggest challenge that the city has. The Biden administration has been there for the city of New Orleans in a big way through the ARPA funds and through the bipartisan infrastructure law. But it's really a challenge. And it's not only in New Orleans, it's all over the country. There are 30,000 plus systems like that are in difficulty. After I was in the White House, as you know, Jackson had some challenges with their water system, as did Flint. And we're working really hard to do that. But power generation is critically important. I think I saw where the city council the other day allocated $30 million to fill the gap on the substation, but they can't do that soon enough. They've been working on that for a long time, but they got to get that done, and I'm sure that they will.
All right. Whoever the people that are running for mayor, when I see them on the street, I'm telling them to get a hat that just says "Fix the pumps." Yep. Fix the pumps on the hat.
That system's bigger. That I don't think people appreciate how big that particular system is. And remember that it was hurt before Katrina hit, and then after Katrina hit, 17 feet of water sat on that system for about 3 weeks. So the pipes underneath the ground were bleeding about 40% of its water, and the fix is really expensive. And I know they're working really, really hard on it. It takes a long time, and it's very, very frustrating for everybody.
That's not that you're not making me feel better with that answer, but I appreciate your candor and honesty. All right, the last thing. People always ask me, they're coming to New Orleans, send me to someplace cool. I don't want to go to a touristy place. Tell me something that I should check out that isn't the obvious thing. So give us a mayor's tip for visitors to the New Orleans.
Well, first of all, you got the shirt on, and I know everybody in the world loves Tipitinas, but that's a place. You also have referenced a number of different times the greatest bar in the history of America, the Kingpin, which is right off of Britannia Street, and that's a great place. I like N7, which is really fantastic, and there are a bunch of other holes in the walls that you got to find when you come to New Orleans. Parkway is, got great sandwiches. Domilise's, if you're hooking up for a shrimp sandwich or an oyster sandwich, and then the rest of it is take your pick.
All right.
But come ready to have fun.
We'll put out that list in the show notes for people. Thank you so much, Mayor Mitch Landrieu. We'll be seeing you around town. Appreciate it, and get out there on the campaign trail every last vote, and start shaming any of those remaining Republicans that call you. If Liz Cheney can do it, they can do it. All right, brother.
Listen, however you can get a vote, get a vote. If you got to be silent, then do that. Do whatever you need to do to save the country. Thanks.